Welcome to another episode of the Money Wheel Podcast. The journey to wealth starts here with your host, Don Shade.
Hello, my friend and future millionaire. Welcome to this episode of the Money Wheel. My name is Don Shade. You know, how many of you are carrying something around in your past that is holding you back? How many of you are carrying something around and you don't like to admit it? You know, it's time to be honest with yourself and decide, is my past holding me back from what I want to do? Do I have self-doubt that stops me from living the life of my dreams, creating the income that I'm looking to create? You know, a lot of times you can think back on your past, things that happened, things that you could handle differently. A lot of things you may be upset about. You know, and maybe when you look back, you think to yourself, man, I was a jerk back then. You know, I can do that on a lot of situations in my life. But what you have to realize is this. Everybody's growing every day. And you weren't the caliber of person back then that you are now, and you handled it, what I like to say is age appropriate. You know, you being 21, 22 is you're going to handle a situation differently than you do at 31 or 32 or 41, 42. Why? Because you've grown as a person. You got more experience. You're better at handling a lot of situations. You know, at some point, we all grow up and life moves forward. But what people don't realize is they carry a lot of anger, a lot of resentment for mistakes they made in the past. What I want to tell you here is this. Learn to use your past to be your power. Let's say you were involved in a bad relationship. You ended up getting a divorce for whatever reason. Maybe it wasn't even your fault. What if you had a spouse that cheated on you? You can't control somebody else's actions. But you know what? Learn how to give it a parking place. I did the best I could do at the time. You know, I look back at a lot of things in my life and think, boy, I wish I would have done this different, or I wish I had handled that differently. And there's nothing you can do about it. If the person is still around and you're on talking terms, go to them and say, hey, you know, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And that's a tough thing to do. But I guarantee you this, to have that stress off of your chest, it makes a world of difference. If that person is no longer here and you don't have that opportunity, maybe it's somebody that passed away, a parent, a grandparent, and you have something on your mind that's been bugging you for a long time, sit down and write a letter to that person and say in that letter everything that you ever wanted to say to them, and learn to let it go. It's time to give your anger and your rage a parking place so we can focus on what your life is really going to be like. You know, one of the things that my team and I focus on is teaching people how to build wealth. Well, here's what it comes down to. If you're unhappy with a $100 bill in your pocket, you're going to be just as unhappy or worse with $1,000 in your pocket. It makes no difference. Everybody thinks that money buys happiness, and it really doesn't. What it comes down to is money allows you to look at things differently. Today is the day we step up and we use your past as your power to move forward. This is just something I want you to think about. We'll see you next time on The Money Wheel.
Thank you for listening to the Money Wheel Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and like the podcast. For everything that was talked about in today's amazing show, go to moneywheelpodcast.com and get today's show notes, past episodes, and most importantly, you can connect with Don Shade on all his social media platforms. Again, at moneywheelpodcast.com. If you are just looking to email Don, you can email him at don@moneywheelpodcast.com. For a list of all our tools we use in our business, you can go to moneywheelpodcast.com/resources. Again, thank you for listening to today's podcast, and see you in our next episode of the Money Wheel Podcast.